The BRICS revolt. How Russia, China, and Iran just declared war on the dollar vertical bar. U.S. panic mode begins. All right. Let's cut the nonsense. The American ruling class is terrified. Not nervous, not concerned, terrified. Because for the first time since the Cold War, Washington is no longer dealing with scattered, isolated opposition. This isn't the non-aligned movement of the 60s. This isn't the G70-77, whose declarations gather more dust than influence. No, this is something else, something far more dangerous to the empire. This is BRICS 2.0. It's not just a bloc. It's a transcontinental geopolitical earthquake. We're talking about the number one economic power in the world, China, the number one nuclear and hypersonic power, Russia, alongside a growing coalition of major emerging markets, Iran, Brazil, South Africa, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, joined or knocking at the door. 30 more nations are waiting in line like it's the hottest club on earth. This is the global South rising, not with slogans, but with a roadmap, with coordination, with vision, and crucially, with currency. Let's rewind to Rio de Janeiro, the BRICS summit, a milestone that didn't make front-page news in the West, but should have, the final declaration. It was surgical, not confrontational in the language, but firm, impossibly firm. Every word carefully engineered to sidestep direct provocation while broadcasting a crystal-clear message. We're done playing by your rules. Behind that language was a war room of sharp minds working 24/7, literally until the night before. This wasn't because Iran was blocking a statement on Israel or the U.S., as some American talking heads babbled. No, it was about precision, calibrating the language so it would read as reasonable to Washington while laying the foundation for an economic insurrection. And what came next? A bombshell, delivered quietly, Russian style. At the separate meeting of the new development bank, the BRICS Bank, Russia's finance minister Anton Siluanov dropped the line that made the entire Western banking system wince. From now on, the NDB would become the key lender for infrastructure and macro projects across the BRICS space. And here's the kicker. Bypassing SPWIFT. Yes, the unspoken dream of half the planet. An actual financial system that doesn't go through Washington. The NDB, under the leadership of Brazil's former president Dilma Rousseff, will finance projects not in dollars, but in local currencies. Yuan, rubles, rupees, reals. This wasn't just an idea. It was a declaration of war on the dollar's monopoly. A real, tangible step toward dollarization. Maxim Oreshkin, one of Putin's top 3 economic advisors, echoed the same message the next day. Behind closed doors, to a small group of us, he spelled it out. This is the Russian model. Quiet, steady, effective. Trade in local currencies. Finance in local currencies. Exit SPIFT. And it's working. Now, if you're sitting in Washington, and you actually have a brain, this is the part that should send chills down your spine. Because no one needs to scream de-dollarization anymore. They're doing it. Quietly. Efficiently. Like a silent divorce from the empire. And you'd better believe that Washington heard it. Loud and clear. Which brings us to the immediate retaliation. Trump threatening Brazil with 50% tariffs, just days after the Rio summit. Coincidence? Please. Brazil responded with fire. Lula didn't blink. He said, fine. You slap 50%, we'll slap 50% right back, under constitutional reciprocity. He made it clear. Brazil is already looking for new markets, in Africa, in Asia. And guess what? The world wants what Brazil sells, plain soybeans, steel, iron, coffee. And just how much of Brazil's GDP depends on the U.S.? Less than 2%. That's not leverage, that's a rounding error. So if Trump's plan was to scare BRICS into submission, he failed spectacularly. If anything, he's speeding up the process. But here's where things get even more intense. What's really happening is a multi-front war waged by Washington and its vassals against BRICS. It's not just a trade war. It's a hot war, a hybrid war, a currency war, a sanctions war, a propaganda war. And it's escalating. The American empire is throwing everything it has to stop what it cannot control. Because this isn't just about BRICS. It's about the RIC triangle. Because this isn't just about BRICS. It's about the RIC triangle. Russia, Iran, and China. 3 nations. All sanctioned. All demonized. All pushing forward anyway. Each one has faced the full arsenal of American pressure. Financial warfare. Cyber attacks. Color revolutions. Sabotage. Military threats. And yet, here they are. Not just surviving, thriving, leading. Iran, in particular, is stepping into a new spotlight. Some of the Chinese scholars at Rio were candid. It might be time to consider Iran and Indonesia as the real eyes in BRICS, not India. Because India, for all its potential, still hasn't picked a side. India was in Rio. Modi was smiling. But the real engine behind BRICS isn't in New Delhi. It's in Tehran. And Jakarta is right behind. Iran's foreign minister delivered one of the most scathing condemnations of Israel and the U.S. at the BRICS table. It was on the record. It was hardcore. And it was supported unanimously. Yes, even by Brazil. They just moderated the language slightly to keep Washington's alarms from going full DEFCON. But the signal was clear. BRICS isn't hiding anymore, and the U.S. knows it. That's why you get people like Lindsey Graham, professional warmonger, paid mouthpiece for the deep state, going on Fox News, ranting about 100% tariffs on China, India, and Brazil if they dare buy Russian oil. The sheer idiocy of it is laughable. As if Brazil exports oil to the U.S., as if China will bow down to tariff threats. But Graham's not the architect. He's the microphone. The real policy is written by think tanks and defense contractors who understand exactly what's at stake. They know the dollar's grip is slipping. They know BRICS is building an alternative order. And the more they scream, the more they scream, the more they scream, the more they sanction, the more they accelerate their own irrelevance. Let's zoom out. NATO, the military wing of the empire, has made 2 big decisions. Number 1, permanent war with Russia, open-ended, unconditional, as long as it takes. Number 2, prepare for war with China. Yes, war with China. So now we have the U.S. and NATO waging 3 interlinked wars. 1, the proxy war in Ukraine against Russia. 2, the shadow war in West Asia against Iran. 2, the shadow war in West Asia against Iran. 3, the encirclement strategy, an economic war against China. And guess who they've also declared war on? BRICS. Yes, NATO is now officially targeting the economic alliance of Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and everyone else joining them. The Secretary General of NATO, this stale bureaucratic zombie, actually said that Brazil, India, and China better start cooperating or face consequences. Let that sink in. A military alliance is threatening economic nations for not falling in line. This is not diplomacy. This is desperation. And it gets worse. The European Union is now preparing to spend €1 trillion a year on defense until 2030. They can't even heat their homes without Russian gas, but now they want to fund endless war. They'll bankrupt themselves trying. And what's the end game? Isolate Russia, destroy Iran, surround China, intimidate Brazil, all while robbing their own citizens. Guess what happens next? BRICS tightens its grip. The NDB evolves. The de-dollarization expands. The digital payment systems mature. The high-speed rail between economies accelerates. And yes, Even traditional enemies, like China and Vietnam, are now doing joint military drills. Joint drills. Let that sink in. The last war China fought was against Vietnam, and now they're coordinating. Because everyone sees the writing on the wall, they know who the real threat is. It's not Russia. It's not China. It's not Iran. It's the crumbling empire that can't stop sanctioning, bombing, looting, and threatening its way across the globe. And now, even America's former colonies are saying enough. They don't want swift heft. They don't want dollars. They don't want dollars. They don't want Washington's approval. They want sovereignty. And if you think that sounds like a revolution, you're right. The global South has declared independence, and this time they have the means to defend it, economically, diplomatically, and if necessary, militarily. So the next time someone tells you BRICS is just a talking shop, remind them, BRICS is building a new world. And Washington is just screaming into the void. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, hit that like button so more people can see what's really going on beneath the headlines. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because what's coming next in this global realignment will not be covered by the mainstream. And drop a comment below. Do you think BRICS can truly dethrone the dollar? Can the global South stand up to the empire? We're reading everything, and your voice matters in this conversation. Let's build a community that sees the bigger picture